The Winnipeg Jets are making moves as we have multiple major updates surrounding the Jets following their huge win yesterday. We're going to break down what those moves are, what it means going forward, as well as discuss the huge win that sent the NHL a serious message and statement following the big win against the Minnesota Wild. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. Before we get into it, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're close to 500, so if you want to help us towards the goal, make sure to hit that button. On Hattrick HQ, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, so hit the subscribe button over there, and thank you guys for your continued support on both channels. But Darius, Winnipeg Jets are a wagon right now. They're rolling. They're playing extremely good hockey, and it's great to see it. We have a lot of returns. But we also have some moves to go over, and we're going to also, of course, discuss the game yesterday. I want to start with this. So, transaction, the Jets have activated David Guston from injured reserve. And not a huge move, nothing that's going to kind of, break the hockey news cycle universe. But it is an interesting move here. And as you look at their standings, the Jets are obviously first in the NHL. You have a lot of players playing well. You're also dealing with a lot of injuries, specifically, of course, Dylan Sandberg. Mark Scheifele's been dealing with some things all year here. Do you have any insight on how the Jets are playing right now? And, of course, David Guston getting back from the IR.
Yeah, David Guston obviously got injured in that game against the Boston Bruins, where there were a ton of fights and things kind of got rough there at the end in an 8-1 win. And it's good to see him back. Obviously, wasn't on long-term injury reserve, but got knocked down there in that fight. So not great to see, but obviously feeling better. He's back in the lineup. Like you said, it's not a needle mover move or anything like that, but good to see him back in the lineup and fully healthy, and he could factor into a couple games here coming up for the Winnipeg Jets after Christmas. So big game tomorrow against the Toronto Maple Leafs as well, heading into Christmas. So good to see him back. And the Jets, first in the NHL. We'll see if they keep that spot heading into Christmas, but they played amazing to start the season. Obviously sputtering a little bit the last month or so, but they're kind of getting back on track and putting in really good performances. And some players, which we'll touch on later in the video, are playing back up to their potential again, which I think is a good sign for the Jets.
Yeah, and Gustafsson, he doesn't play every night. He's not a regular, but having depth at this point is pretty crucial for this team, especially as some players start to play better, like Cole Perfetti yesterday, and some players start to slack off as the season progresses and as you get further into the year. Obviously, injuries and load management and things like that are going to happen. But you think about the Minnesota Wild game. Now, obviously, the Wild coming into this game had lost 4 in a row. They hadn't been playing well. There was a time where they were near the top of the NHL, and as you saw in the standings, they're down all the way to 7th, which is still pretty good. But the Winnipeg Jets just dominated from start to finish. Obviously, Connor Hellebuyck in net. The game was really good. Cole Perfetti has been playing a lot better as of late. He started off really good this season, started to tail off a little bit, and now he's starting to get his feet back under him, which we all expected and we all kind of knew was going to happen. But there's this game against the Minnesota Wild. It kind of sent a message to just Jets fans, but even around the NHL, like, this team has figured it out once again. They had like the Wild kind of started good and now are tailing off a little bit. The Jets started off the best start in any regular season in history, and now they tailed off, but they're back to number 1 in the league, which shows obviously the resilience they have and all these things. But they've kind of figured out, especially the blue line group, how to work in lieu of Dylan Sandberg being out. Dylan Sandberg wasn't the best defenseman they had, but he really held everybody together. And now we're seeing a combination of a bunch of different guys in the blue line. They're starting to figure out their roles, and it led to a dominant win against the Minnesota Wild. And quite frankly, the defense was very good yesterday, holding Minnesota to not very many shots at all. And when you pair that with Connor Hellebuyck, the best goalie in the NHL, the team is scary. And yesterday's game kind of showed that there, just a dominant performance.
Yeah, those two things, Connor Hellebuyck and the defense playing well, contributes to a shutout, right? Like, more times than not, you're probably going to see that. So great game from the Jets in that regard. And I wanted to bring this up as well. Rick Bonez kind of chiming in on how the Jets have been playing so far this season. They kind of brought this new mentality into training camp and into the season. And yes, they've sputtered a little bit. And like you mentioned, since losing Dylan Sandberg, like, it seems like he was a bit of a glue guy on the blue line there, right? Kind of holding things together. Not the biggest name, not the flashiest player, but missing him, they kind of started to put some losses together there. But coming into the game last night, major storyline was obviously these are two rivals, two teams in the same division that go at each other's throats all the time. Obviously had that playoff series years ago. For a while, the Minnesota Wild jumped the Winnipeg Jets in the standings, and obviously came into this game on a 4-game losing streak. But this was a huge game. It's Saturday night. It's in Winnipeg. The Jets want to put on a good performance, especially with how the road trip went, and obviously the last little while they've been playing 500 hockey, and they did exactly that. This is as good of a performance as you're going to get against a team that is on the downslide a little bit now, 5 losses in a row for the Minnesota Wild. But you wanted to put in a good effort and show everyone that you could, and this slide isn't going to continue. This kind of 500 hockey isn't going to continue. I think the Jets want to get back to a place where they're putting wins together, consecutive wins together, and that was a good performance, a solid performance. You don't let up too many opportunities. Connor Hellebuyck stands tall. Obviously, you allow 0 goals. The power play is working. Everything was going last night. Cole Perfetti as well. He's another name that, hot and cold, like you mentioned. To start the year, a little bit hot. A lot of Jets fans were like, this guy is amazing. And we know what his ceiling is, right? Like, he is supposed to be an amazing player. And then he kind of took a few weeks off, the best way to put it, I guess. But he had another great game last night. Very minimal negative impact on the game, if any at all. So all good things from Cole Perfetti as well, and a bunch of other guys. And nice to see Nikolai Ehlers back from injury too and doing his thing.
Yeah, and as you think about where we covered the Jets, a week or so ago, after their great start, they were 8-9-1 or something like that. Now they've won a few here, starting to get going again, won a few in a row, 24-10-1, and they don't want to stop there. And obviously, as you look at the big win, you look at like what Rick Bonus said about motivation in the playoffs. They need to win playoff games. Regular season, they've been a very good team for a very long time. Obviously, had that one year where they missed the playoffs there a couple years ago, but things are good, and you have Nikolai Ehlers coming out and speaking about the rivalry. I don't go out there sitting before the game and get myself fired up because I hate the Minnesota Wild. That's just the way it goes. Or sorry, not the way it goes, obviously. And having him back, that's another huge part. Like, the team was missing a lot of integral pieces. And Scott Arniel also spoke out on Ville Heinola and Colin Miller. They're continuing to go together. That's Ville being back on the left side. He'd been playing the right with Logan Stanley, of course. Just familiarity, playing with Millsy. Just like you said, there's some good things that we'll look at that they can build on. I think having Ville Heinola kind of be put in one spot, in this case on the right side, and just be almost have a partner that he can play with consistently to develop some chemistry with. In this case, he's talking about Colin Miller, at least a couple guys, rather than setting him up, sending him down, moving him around. Like, he's been moving so much. If you can figure out, we know the talent is there. The ceiling is there for Ville Heinola. It's really the floor that you're worried about, because if he doesn't play well, the team is trying to win games. They're number 1 in the NHL. They're going for a cup. They need stability on the blue line, and Ville Heinola has started to do that there. And going on to say, there's some areas that they've got to continue to improve. We don't stress them out too much in the sense of getting them thinking about all those bad things. We want them to continue to build in the positives. I think Millsy helps Ville in those situations. I like it. I like the way that Scott Arniel has obviously coached his team. A phenomenal debut for him as a head coach here. Any thoughts on that pairing before we wrap up?
Yeah, well, Scott Arniel's been around for a while too, right? So just kind of taking over the reins, and he's done a great job with it, I think, and this new mentality in the group after last season, like Rick Bona has said as well. But in terms of this pairing, since Ville Heinola has really come into the organization, I guess, he's kind of been moved around a lot, like you said. He's been put in situations to fail at times, I think, too. So what happens if you put a player in a position to succeed? Put him on the left side where he plays, and put him on a pairing with a guy like Colin Miller, who's maybe a little bit more of a calming presence for a guy like Ville Heinola. Maybe not in another defensive pairing, but the dynamic of that pairing could work in that way. So I would like to see more of this and see more of Ville Heinola, because, of course, like, he was in and out of the lineup. He's up from the AHL. He's down back to the AHL. They're putting him on the right side. I just want to see him settle into a position here where he doesn't necessarily have to be comfortable, but in a position to succeed and play well. So I want to see more of him there. And again, Colin Miller, nice to see him back in the lineup. And Logan Stanley, maybe to Jets fans, want, I guess, is out of the lineup at this point due to injury. So hopefully he's okay. But I know Jets fans, not a big fan of Logan Stanley. I would rather see him moved, I think, at this point. But, if you can find something with Ville Heinola here on the left side, maybe that is the case. Maybe that is what's going to happen. So I would like to see more of this and see where he takes it.
Yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. Quick note, maintenance for Adam Larry, Nikolai Ehlers practice today. But huge game tomorrow. We'll keep you updated with all of these Jets news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.